Hello YouTube, Fang, FF13 Best Girl, yeah, I went there, and Beatrix, FF9 went Best Girl. What a banner, just waifu-wise. Anyways, on this banner, where you pull on Fang and Beatrix LD, I'll give you some things to think about for potentially use your limited resources. If you're new to the channel and not familiar with me, I play both JP and Global, and I use some of that experience and knowledge, resources, etc. to inform y'all, give you some things to think about. Let me know what you're planning on doing for the event and the banner in the comments. And while you're there, like the video, subscribe to my channel, check out my playlist of Ranting Hour, weekly stream. We talk about a bunch of fun stuff. Let's talk about Beatrix first. It's pretty straightforward. She didn't get much, but what she did get was very good. If you're new to her kit, she is an offensive support. Whatever that means. She has Dispel utility from her LD. She does off-turn damage via counters. She provides party HP regen, and she gives party defense and damage mitigation, so you're taking less damage. Always like that. With her C90, she's not getting a skill rework, by the way, but she is getting a C90. She has EX start and the plus version of her EX, which you should always have based on her buff conditionals. You just need buffs active on the party. It's 5 split AoE attack. It's very good. Her Holy Knight Safeguard, the special HP she gets after using EX, excuse me. It's a double HP attack. It's instant and free turns, and it's extended to 2 turns now. So you can use the HP and then immediately use a skill afterwards. So it's way more turn efficient. Your EX will be back up. She does a giant party heal after doing this. So you'll get healthy and you'll stay healthy. Additionally, on her EX buff, she got party brave and HP damage up, as well as more brave resist. So you're taking less damage, and she's helping the party deal more damage. Couldn't ask for more. Well, you could, but strengths wise, she's got consistent dispels, especially because it's an off turn. I think Vanilla is another off turn dispeller, but Beatrix has that utility as well as heals. On demand safety, because her EX is going to be up quite faster because you have the Holy Knight Safeguard into skill. Just by nature of that, her EX will be up faster, provided you wanted to press that. She's well-rounded. She provides a little bit of everything. She's got a great sword ultimate weapon, so if you do want to lean into her damage, you can do that, and you could swap it around more easily. And she is low investment utility, so even if you don't like blue her and ultimate weapon her up, she can still be useful in some capacity just because of the stuff she can do. Weaknesses: she has low personal damage, unfortunately. I think her recast is 3 skills, but her EX is her best move. She's still trapped on it's technically 2 HP attacks because she'll always be doing the follow-up. But her EX will be 6 HP attacks. Skill 2 is what pretty much all you're pressing. Skill 1 is just bad. And yeah, you really lean on the EX and the LD to do damage, and you need to time your mitigation. So if you're not paying attention, then the mitigation won't really work, referring to her special HP attack. And she has the buff conditionals you got to worry about, so if you're not paying attention, it's just the biggest issue would be skill issue. But anyways, teams just avoid generic buffs clashing, because Beatrix's buffs falling off, that's fine, but if you have more important generic buffs, say maybe like Saz's buff, that might get in the way, but that's few and far in between. So otherwise, you're good. Future fights where she could be handy, she does have a Brave Poison on her LD debuff, so she could work on the Thancred raid. She's also got that mitigation to fight. I remember I used her there in JP. Edge's Intersecting Will, just for the thunder damage. And 6 Warrior Quest, she will be able to just pop her special HP, and you'll take no damage. You can get her back out. So that accounts for her low damage, because you can just cycle her in and out. So that's something to consider down the line. And I think this is her last known rerun for a bit. So now we're going to talk about Fang. Fang. I like Fang a lot as a character, but I like what they did with her kit as well. So let's talk. Fang's role in the party is a damage dealer, and she's been bad for so long. I mean, she looks great. Stop being down bad. She's been a horrible unit in game for a while, but she really is getting some good stuff here. She's a damage dealer. She has launch stances and debuff stances. If you played 13, this is actually a pretty cool implementation of her kit. She now has stuns, and she provides a buttload of HP damage up for everyone on the field. Let's talk. Rework, she gets more skill uses. So before, she had a lot of skill uses. She didn't have many skill uses, and she kind of leaned on her HP attacks, but now she doesn't. She can spam to her heart's extent. Skill 1, double HP with 50% splash, and the Embrave and Defense Down debuff. She applies Embrave, Defense Down, and Speed Down. Embrave and Defense Down got bumped to 50%. That's nice. Her skill 2 is 3 group AoE. Well, no, it's a 3 HP attack. It's a group AoE brave hits, and she has Party Battery afterwards. It's a single target HP attack in the launch, by the way. It's a little annoying, but Party Battery after launching, and is guaranteed launch. So before, She only launched if she had a broken target, but now it's just always going to launch. So great quality of life. Fang makes a bit more sense now. Her C90, her her AA got bumped up to 4 turns. So it was 3 turns previously, but Fang is one of the original bug that became features. Her HP, she has 20% HP damage up on her additional ability. It was originally a bug, but they just kept it in there. Probably because they felt so sorry for her because she was so bad. She starts the quest off in commando stance, which functionally doesn't do much, but it's nice to know. The actual EX is a group AoE brave attack 3 times, and it's single target HP. But they do give her a splash on the HP attack at least, but it's still not. It's lower damage. But regardless, she does party battery after using her EX, and she does launch afterwards too. So it's good stuff all around. She's definitely launching a bit more. This plays into her LD, and her HP attacks are better, but you're probably never pressing those. The LD attack itself is a split 4 HP attacks and inflicts her 3 debuffs, so the Embrave, speed down, and defense down, and it gives Fang a new buff. With this LD buff, whenever Fang does a launch, it gives her a personal buff that gives her attack and 20% HP damage up. So you want to make sure you're weaving in launches every couple turns with Fang to keep her damage up there. And whenever she inflicts a debuff, she attaches an extra debuff on top of it. So provided she's using her skill 1, which debuffs, or LD that debuffs, she will also apply this new 3-turn daze debuff. And this buff is granted at quest start, so this will play into it later. But again, on the debuff part, you can actually trigger this with a sphere, and I'll talk about that later. So let's just keep moving. The LD debuff, it is a stun. If the enemy has this and they try to act, they cannot. Although if they are immune to HP silence effect, not HP silence, but immune to any form of paralysis, they'll ignore this. But the enemy takes 40% more brave and HP damage. 40% HP damage is a lot. Stack that with their additional ability, and Fang's giving out a 60% HP damage up. Sorry, Sayador. Fang did what you did in an additional ability in an LD debuff, sorry. But it decreases when the enemy is attacked. So think like Sync's debuff or Edward's sleep. If you hit an enemy with this 3-turn debuff, it will go down to 2, and it goes down on their turns as well. So you got to time it so you can actually use it well. You can actually trigger this. So like I mentioned earlier, she triggers this on any enemy that she debuffs. So with her LD, she applies the debuffs AoE. So she'll apply the daze debuff AoE. So if you throw a Vincent or a Cam RF on her, any debuff that doesn't overlap with her current ones, then she can actually apply this on her non-debuffing skills. So like skill EX and skill 2, I believe. This is a bit finicky. There's some ways to Gigabrain this with her calls and stuff. I don't quite know them, but just know that it's possible. Don't rely on me for that. There's Gigabrain ways to use Fang. So like I was saying, her calls, if you give her a debuff RF, so like Vincent and Cam are the safe ones because she'll inflict those. You can actually inflict daze with her call, but this is only because her LD call does not inflict debuffs. Only the actual LD attack does, and her base call is just a launch. So you need the you need a debuff RF in order to activate the stun. But again, it only goes down. It goes down on when enemies are attacked. So it's good for like setting up a burst phase because it won't go down in there. Otherwise, it's a pocket stun kinda. There is a way to make her do this call AoE if you give her a Laguna RF. There's a way around this. I don't know the exact technicalities. I just know it's possible. But yes, things to think about. Otherwise, if you don't have those RFs, then her calls really aren't that important. So analysis, strengths. HP damage up stacking. A theoretical 60% going with her additional ability up in the background and a debuff active. That's a lot of HP damage up on just a damage dealer that doesn't provide anything else. She's got consistent launches guaranteed on her skill 2 and her EX, so that's always nice. On-demand stuns if you really need them, providing you aren't doing any RF shenanigans. Just press skill 1 and they are stunned. Skill 1 or LD. LD for AoE, skill 1 for single target. Weakness-wise, her debuffs have diminishing returns. Like, there's only so much HP damage up you can stack to where it doesn't really matter anymore, especially in the face of ultimate weapons that give their own HP damage up, and we have a bunch of BT effects. If you stack that much HP damage up at a point, you won't notice it anymore. And she has a low damage ceiling. Skill 1, 2 HP attacks with splash. And then her skills are 3 HP attacks, and then her LD is 4. So Fang isn't putting out the best damage. She does have HP cap armor. So if you do invest in her with the blue armor and the ultimate weapon, you'll notice it a lot more. But otherwise, yeah. And then the stuns need good timing because they do ultimately go down when you hit them or the bosses take turns. So it is what it is there. Teams, you want to avoid turn hogs because they will drive down her debuff and you can't take advantage of it. That will be annoying. Let the debuff do its work. Bosses get turns. They can't act and then keep the cycle going, because Fang will probably get 1 turn for roughly every boss turn, so you could keep the bosses stun locked pretty hard. Launch centric teams to take advantage of her frequent launching, so like your Kaises, your Rainses, your probably Rem, probably why the synergy you got in the boss rush. Future fights she could help in. I believe she can hit the Kieran. This says Kieran LD. Should say Kieran BT, but when Kieran gets his BT fights, the Kefka where you need 5 stacks of a buff active, and Fang, her Fangs of Transgression thing hits 5, so you could do that. Raijin's Intersecting Will, where you need to stun the target. That's pretty handy for that. I remember using her there. So for the event, it's boss rush. This is the last boss rush, and considering that JP hasn't gotten a boss rush since this one, I think it's safe to say boss rush is dead. So enjoy it while it lasts. It kind of didn't scale well in the face of BT, but it's the Guard Scorpion from FF7. It's +4 if they act while they're stunned, and +4 if they get attacked with an HP damage up debuff active. So this way of selling Fang pretty hard. I think they have a condition where they delay themselves, and they need a launch to unlink themselves, kind of like Kai's last chapter. And so Fang hits all those. This is base Lufenia, and we are overpowered in Lufenia Plus. So all of this is gonna roll over. So I'm not gonna spend too much time with it. Skill 2 is Skull Dragon, the purple guys. It's +6 when 2 or more debuffs are inflicted on them. So 1 debuff AOE. Or just 2 single target and you're good. They are launch immune. Don't be like me in my boss rush video, and people still roast me for, where I brought Kais and Cloud to this fight and I didn't notice. I didn't notice they were launch immune until I pressed Cloud skill 2, even though I'd thrown hero support on them. I am dumb. Anyways, again, this whole thing can be done with 1 party. So I expect people to just bring Garnet and Machina and just burn through the entire thing. Wave 3 is a Malboro. It's +1 for Holy and +5 on a debuff cleanse. You can also just burn through them. Bring a Holy Enchanter, Ico it. Not much to ask for here ultimately. So what are my plans? Pull. I'm simping. I like Fang a lot, and I got her in JP, but I had cold feet and didn't lean into it. But I'm gonna Ultimate Weapon, blue her, run her, just because I want to. You know, just having fun. I have Beatrix already, but I want Fang. I just want Fang personally. So before you pull, however, what are my advices from a meta perspective? If you already decided, ignore me. Ignore me! Anyone wants to Venture Brothers? It's a harder sell on this banner. I think Beatrix is probably the better unit overall on this banner, just for her clutch utility. I ultimately don't think Fang is that great. So the whole stunning with the calls on paper sounds good, but like I said, diminishing returns on HP damage up. If you're running her in the party, her damage is not going to be great unless you fully invest. So I don't think Fang's kit is. I think she's a lot better, and if you invest in her, you'll be happy, like I will be. But low investment using her for calls, not a good idea. I tried to finesse them, and then it just didn't work. I just preferred using more consistent HP damage up calls. Let me get better ones. That call slot is competitive, so I wouldn't do that. It's just she's a hard sell. I think if anything, if you don't have Beatrix, I think trying to get Beatrix's LD is worth tickets, maybe because she could be clutch and a bunch of other things. And Fang, while she does have some utility in 6 Warrior Quest too, because you can even at low investment, you can pop her in, stun, leave, BT phase, whatever. I don't think I'd specifically recommend gunning for her. Not a bad pickup if you're going to use her in that regard, but if you're tight on resources, I think you're probably better off just skipping this banner outright. Let me know what you guys think though. Comment section. Again, like the video, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. All right, peace.